You can totally thank me for introducing you today to Nuria Munoz, who is a true trailblazer in the field of biophilic design, sustainable architecture, and the well-being of communities and individuals. Her visionary leadership led her to create Habit Harmonia ecosystem. The mission at Habit Harmonia is many, but at the core is to create a global community advancing well-being driven design in living spaces. And she aims to create this community to reshape the way we design, build, and inhabit, which is really a fundamental principle to how we can shape the future together that positively impacts people, planet, and profit. Nuria is a seasoned consultant, esteemed designer, captivating speaker, respected educator, and a global researchist. She is based in Valencia, Spain, and we welcome her today, our dear friend. We hope that you enjoy this episode. Like and follow, and you can get her full bio, including all of the amazing accomplishments that she's had so far, with many more to come, in the show notes. Thank you for being here. My name is Wendy Yates. Hi, Nuria. Welcome to Visionary Voices. I'm so happy to be connecting with you today. You're such an inspiration and a leader in the design and wellness and the future of how we create our environment. So welcome. I look forward to diving into all about you and what you're creating.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning to the rest of the world. Thank you so much, Wendy, for this great opportunity. It's really a great pleasure to be here in this podcast with you, to be sharing my story with you and inspiring other people and designers and professionals. So thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Yes, amazing. Thank you for being here. So we'll just kind of dive right in. And we have aligned synergies in that in my design world, I always advocated for how important your environment was and how it was a direct reflection of how you go out and hold space for others in the world and what you believed was possible. And I think there's this misconception to a lot of people not in the industry that design is about fluffing pillows and picking out paint colors. And there's so much more in depth. Really, the core of everything that we experience in our lives is impacted by design. So I'd love if you just want to start with sharing some of your personal and professional experiences that inspired you and your journey that led you to the foundation of the Habit Harmonia Academy.
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Yes, I do agree that it's not just about fluffy pillows and putting the right colors in space. It's much more than that. And we have a great opportunity and we have great responsibility, actually, for the health and well-being of all the inhabitants of all those spaces that we are designing. So my journey starts from very little. I'm coming from a family of designers. My father was an interior designer, and he was not very happy for me to do design. I wanted to be designer at that moment when I was 18. And they chose for me to do economics, business management, marketing. So I did that. It was not really my cup of tea, but okay, at that moment I did that until I met my husband and I moved to Belgium. And that's when I got the opportunity to learn about this and to do this. And I've been doing this for more than 20 years, designing spaces, designing houses, designing workspaces, and mainly retail spaces. And always with the mind of, okay, how marketing can influence retail spaces and what's the impact of a space when you're going shopping. So this was my pre-era of Habit Harmonia. That's where I was thinking about consuming goods, and also had a company on retail and fashion. So it was another story. Until I did a course which was called Sustainability and Fashion, and my eyes went wide open with this. I said, what am I doing? What's the legacy I'm going to leave to my kids, the legacy to the planet? What is what I'm doing? And this was an eye-opener because I started to learn about biophilic design, well-being design, etc. And believe it or not, I've been doing this instinctively for many years, but I didn't know that there was a science behind, that there was so much behind it. And that's when I started to dive in all those different philosophies that are behind well-being design. And I decided to move from Belgium back to Spain and start my company on called Habitarmonia. And Habitarmonia Academy is one part of Habitarmonia, where I am advocating for all these philosophies, either by teaching, educating, inspiring people and designers on this. So that's very short told my story. And I do see the need of advocating for this in design because we see that our spaces are making us sick. And as you know, we're spending more than 90% of our time indoors. So if a space is not correctly designed and created, might be that we are getting sick from that. And there is evidence of that, actually. So what I want to create with Habitarmonia Academy is like a wake-up call to all the designers and say, look, there are so many philosophies, so many instruments, tools out there that you can use, that you have to be aware of. And this way we can create better spaces for our clients in all sectors, in all different spaces. So yeah, that's a bit what is my drive. That's yeah, I see that there is a big need for that. And as I told you, I have 3 kids, so I couldn't just not do it. I need to. I had this knowledge, and I needed to spread the word about it and create the spaces for our children, which are better. Yeah,
Yeah, I think it's really I
I
think
guess. Yeah.
yeah, amazing. I think it's really interesting. We kind of, we shared before when we first met, we had kind of this similar awakening around, becoming a mom and the work that you're doing and these aspirations that you have when you're younger. And, and also I think something that goes along with, at least for me, that the world of design felt like this beautiful, luxurious, like experience all the time. But at the heart of it is really the systems thinking and the influence that design has to shape the world. And so I want to ask, that in education often follows a very kind of structured path, like even in design, right? Like if you go to school for it, you're taught all these kind of systemic technical things, and then the creativity part has always kind of been something you either kind of have inside of you or not. So how does Habit Harmonia incorporate, this sustainable practices and innovations with this technicality, with this creativity and the practical and functional needs like into their curriculum? Because again, it's so more in depth than I think the average person, even the designer that's a new designer looking to get into the space, really can comprehend.
Yes, thank you for that question. Yeah, how do we do that? Well, I do agree with you. There is this linear way of learning, and we've all been there. We are still there, and I see that my kids are following that kind of education. You choose a path, and you go all the way through from the beginning to the end in that path. What we've seen is that multidisciplinary approach, studying from other different philosophies, studying with other type of professions and professionals, makes that your knowledge and your awareness of that project will go wider. So based on that, what I want to say is that what we're doing at Habitarmonia Academy and with our ecosystem is giving that approach not to just interior designers, not just to architects, giving that approach or that all those knowledges to all those philosophies that will work together in a project. If you see a project, a workspace project, there are so many different professionals involved in there. You have the lighting specialist, the engineer, you have the interior designer, the planting expert, the engineer who is doing sustainability, also the occupants and the investors and the owners. So all these parties should know about how to create that space. They are not the experts, but they should be able to understand what is to create a space in order to give the right feedback to the designer and to the team who is going to create that, to create the best space for that moment in that space, in that time. So that's what we're doing in one of our state-of-the-art courses, is creating those spaces with different disciplines in order to get that um, those conversations between different disciplines. So it is for us very, very important to think about, okay, if you're thinking linear, you're not being adapted to that moment, to that space. You're not being adapted. You're not having empathy with your customer or with people who are going to be occupying that space. So that's one of the processes we're working with. And also we are doing like live projects, like case studies. So we ask our participants, our cohorts, to create projects which are going to be the projects where they, at the end of those 12 weeks, this is one of the courses, they are ready to rock. They have the tools, they have the speech, they have the pitch, they have the experience, not yet, maybe you didn't, but they have the experience of how to go out there and talk from another perspective. So that's it's very important not just to learn about the tools and how to do it, but also how do you embrace it and how do you feel it from your own studio, your own company, etc.
Yeah. Another, I think, really sort of advancing, it's not just I think, it's obvious, right? Technology is advancing at a very rapid pace. And I think there's some people who have a concern that we might lose touch with the human element in architecture and design. How do you balance the benefits of the technological innovation with the need to preserve the human-centric and biophilic design?
Well, how do I balance? I make it very clear. Sometimes I don't even explain about it to the customer, but we have those values in our company. It's about co-creation. It's about creating spaces for them. So no matter what, that's our first start point. So whatever innovation that we're going to create in that, or we're going to introduce in those projects, the start point is the user and nature. So those are two of the parties who are being observed or taken care first of all. And then depending on the project, we will see how it evaluates, but that's an essential one. If we're not listening to what the end user is going to needs or wants in that moment, we cannot create those perfect spaces. And it has to do with knowing their personalities. It has to do with knowing where, whatever it's a workspace, where are they going to go to cry? Those are questions that we're asking them. Where do you go to cry in this space when you have a news? Most of the people say, yeah, we're going to the toilet. Is this a space you want to go? So those are, very, might seem very stupid questions, but those answers give us the right solutions for those people. So the human factor and the nature factor are important. We're taking into account, okay, can we renovate something which has been, which is old? Can we reuse anything? Can we restore anything? Are we going to create any affection with nature through this renovation or through this project? How do we do it? How do we get those people wanting to go to nature or liking nature? All these aspects are included in our designs, and it takes a bit longer. That's a bit of a like a lot of people see like a disadvantage. It takes a bit longer in time for this project, but at the end, the return on investment, it's amazing. You get people who are happier, healthier, they are more balanced, they're more creative, they feel better. And at the end, that's what we all want. So the spaces we're creating are not draining. On the contrary, they're making people thrive. And yeah, that's the philosophy of Habitat Harmonia, and that's what we do also in the academy to inspire people to do it and to help them to to ask the right questions and to go deeper with the conversations with their customers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when you were saying, when you mentioned the part about crying, I immediately thought, oh, well, in the shower or in the bathroom, of course. But to your point, what a not very comforting place to kind of work through your mental, emotional, or physical stress. So that's really fascinating. That was the first thing that I thought of as well. I think what do you think is the most unconventional change? I mean, you're a visionary in this space because you're implementing, this way of also all these modalities and this holistic living approach into what you're teaching and into your own work, and then bringing designers together, which in itself is innovative because I think historically, at least my experience, has been that designers tend to silo themselves and, in the past, like keep, trade secrets and all these things, where I think that alone is this elevation for us as human beings, not just in our industry, but all of us, to share our ideas and really to know that there's an abundance of everything for everyone. But I also think there's always going to be things that we can revolutionize. So what do you think can be like a daring and unconventional change you think that can truly revolutionize how we interact with spaces? And what would you think are the steps to get there?
Well, one of the things, and most of the brands are going to hate what I'm saying here, it's the way we are valuing designers. So our sector is being valued through the type of furniture we're selling. We get a commission on that, and that's actually how we are being valued. And the more we sell from a brand, the more margin we get from a brand, and the more we will push that brand to the customer. And that's actually wrong. Why? Because if I'm saying that we are doing human and nature-centric design, what I'm saying is we are doing product or consuming-centric design, and that should change. So that's an utopia, because there is this big, this big monster, which is capitalism and consuming, which is forcing us to consume constantly new trends, new products, new furniture, etc. But if we would think the other way around, if we would value more the design and the time that designers are putting on these projects in order to actually to elevate the life of people and the planet, and if you see the return on investment on valuing that design or that designer, and we put that as the product as a second choice of valuing, I think that would be that's where I'm dreaming about. So that's the way to go. But unfortunately, right now, this is a big issue, because everything is going through the product. And I just went last week, 2 weeks ago, to Milan, and it's about that. Milan, it's a big show. All the brands, they have beautiful showrooms, beautiful places in the fair, and it's about consuming. But we have to stop consuming. We see that we have a problem. Climate change is there. It's very obvious. So how do we return this way of creating and of designing spaces? That's one of my big questions and hopes, that we change that mindset.
Yeah, value the person and the creativity and the over just the name of where these, not to say these weren't beautiful creations, and the amazing artists didn't create originally some of the most beautiful designed goods that we procure and curate for spaces. But I think that's such a powerful way to think about, like, how can we still create conscious capitalism within this industry and marry the lens of that sustainability. I always say sustainability is the new luxury, or the new luxury is sustainability, but then the word sustainable also just means sustaining an old way, so how can we start to create a regenerative and sort of circular practice as kind of one of the main disruptors, to then carry out what you're teaching, and what needs to be the kind of future of how we build not only interior environments, but really all community planning and land development projects. Beautiful. So in Habit Harmonia, I know that your aim is not just education, but it's also to build community. So I would love for you to share a story from one of your students that has participated so far, or how the community will continue to foster beyond the courses, because I think that's another really exciting thing in the industry that hasn't existed before.
Great, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, the community is amazing. It has some amazing energy. Those are all multidisciplinary designers, and we have people from all the from built environment industry, from all different sectors. So people, real estate developers, we have interior designers, architects, engineers, etc., etc. And what it's particular here is that those people, those members, they can ask questions in that environment. And we had I loved one of the live sessions. We had one of the members ask, like, look, I'm dealing with this project. There is a project that I'm doing for blind people. And how can I bring it better to them? And what are the things that I have to take into account? Thinking on biophilia, regenerative design, environmental psychology, etc. How would I do that? And this was a great thing, because we were live on a live session, and one of the ambassadors, who is actually working on heritage, she just popped in and said, look, I've been working on that on my PhD, so I know how blind people should be communicating and how we can design. She gave so many amazing tips. And that's a nice thing. So you're dealing with something, you go into that membership, into that platform, and the people from the ecosystem are helping each other. So that's, for me, amazing. That co-creation, collaboration, helping each other. So we do inform them of a lot of things, but I cannot say that I know everything, and nobody knows everything. So the best thing is to say, okay, let's do it together. Let's do it like plants or trees are doing, and just co-create that space.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole ecosystem, right? Is to trees feed off each other. Why do we fight each other, and why aren't we like collaborating? Again, to like one of the things we already kind of touched on, people siloing their ideas and gatekeeping, I guess, if you would, instead of, I've never really understood that. So it's just beautiful to be able to see communities being created that cross over different industries to help us all co-elevate. What are some examples that you've seen or that you've implemented in your work leading up to what you're creating that you saw a far-reaching effect that was beyond the immediate aesthetics, like an example just for people to visualize what this kind of holistic design thing looks like?
So we do create in a holistic way. So it's not just using a certain methodology. We will go and look deeper in people. And one of the things that we're very, very happy with is using the personality test and understanding the personalities of people. Because, knowing that people are all different, a space cannot be for one person who is introvert or extrovert. This is just a small example. So knowing with who you are dealing with and what are their habits during the day, what are their desires. So we create vision boards with our customers. We will shape that space for them to thrive, not only now, but in the future. As you know, there are all these vision boards and all these books that you can write your visions for the next years. Instead of doing it through a vision board or through something that you write down, we just create the space where we are already making those people go into that direction. If someone tells me, look, I would love to do a yoga, that's normally you're not asking those questions to your customers. But if you go deeper and say, look, what are you envisioning for the next years? What are your dreams? We're becoming a bit of like a mentor or a coach there. They will tell you, okay, that's one example. I would like to do more yoga during the day. I would like to be more creative, or I would like to whatever. So you shape that space to their needs. And then knowing that, okay, we have people with ADHDs or people with with concentration problems or with migraines, we can adapt also through biophilic design or other philosophies, that space. So I find it so amazing that there is so much out there. It's all science-based. That's the nice thing about it as well. There are all these case studies which are showing us that this is working. And we can just work with all these different tools for that specific project. So yeah, I don't know if that was the question, but I
well, it's beautiful information. And so thank you. Thank you. Do you have a project right now that you could share a little bit about where you're seeing this kind of impacted already as part of the end results?
Well, yeah, I am right now working on a project. This is in Belgium. So there is a family with two different families where there's a lot of stress. And so one of the first things that I did, it was a survey for all the family, not only the owner, or normally it's the woman who is more open to say all the things about what she wants and the rest of the family. No, what we do is we interview each of the members, not little kids, but when the kids are grown up from 15 on, we ask also questions to the kids. And from these surveys, there is a lot of information coming out. There is information coming out of where do they thrive best, which type of spaces are best, what type of spaces are needed for them. And then we do a kind of a collage. How can we integrate all those things together? So this project I'm doing right now, it's kind of a very, it's a challenge. It's a challenge because these are two different families which are coming together, and are two different types of kids, four kids, which are all coming in the same house. And we need to make it thrive. We have to see that this is working. So the most challenging was to get the data from all the kids and to understand how and who they are, because they're a bit reluctant. And what we're right now working on is on the spaces such as the kitchen and the veranda and the living room, which are the common spaces. And yeah, the most challenging in this situation is also because I'm not there, I cannot travel all the time there, is to work with the architect. And that's where I see, okay, how we get together, which are the sustainable materials we're using, can you give me feedback, then coordinating all that. Those are the more challenging things. But okay, this is working. It does work to work online. And yeah, I'm looking forward to finish this one, because it's going to be an amazing project. It's a great renovation of our entire house, which is very, very innovative in terms of all the energy that we're going to save there. The innovative in the way where the architect is using solar panels and water reduction, and wow, amazing innovative things. And see also how that biophilic design concept and the environmental psychology concept who is working with that family and how they're going to thrive. So I always give like a time of 6 months after the project has been done to do a survey again to see if those things that we wanted to solve, like stress or concentration problems or whatever, are being solved with the space. And
Amazing.
that's when we succeeded. Yes. So
Yeah. So it's not just planning and the design plan, it's the follow, it's through the process and then the follow through later after it's completed, where you're actually maintaining that kind of long-term relationship, not just for the sake of which I shouldn't say like that. Obviously, like we tend to, we as designers, I know I have a lot of like maintain long-term relationships. I work with people for decades, but this is on another level where you're actually getting the feedback from them on the results that they've seen over a period of time beyond the completion of the project. I think that's really a really good look into something that everyone can take away as something to add on, even as they're kind of learning their journey through creating these holistic spaces. So I have a question for you about what you want to be true. Like, what does winning look like for you? Imagine you have the opportunity to travel to the future, say 10 years from now, and you're coming back to me today. You're like, oh my gosh, Wendy, this is what we've accomplished in the last 10 years. How do you envision? I always like because I always like to like whenever I'm like not sure of myself or I feel stuck, like I try to vision myself in the future, like what do I want to be true? So I like to ask that question from people that I admire, because I'm like, what is shaping this? What is this contribution going to do to shape our environment, our communities, and even our global practices? What would Nuria, who's traveled back in time, tell me what is true?
I love that question. And we as visionaries, we're always thinking on that vision on long term, and that's where we love to stay. And it's a bit more challenging to be in the real time. So it's I love your question. It's yeah, where would I like to be in 10 years? I would like to be in a position, not myself, but my company and actually the design world to be in that path where I was just saying that we have educated, inspired thousands and thousands of designers in that philosophy, where they're constantly being inspired, educated, they're co-creating amazing spaces where this is like a normal way of designing, where we don't need to say anymore, like you have to be thinking sustainable, you have to think on the health of the people, you have to, no, this should be a norm. And the actual system of education, it's too linear. So what we want to offer in Habitat Harmonia is that solution, to be wider, to be more changeable, to be more multidisciplinary, and also adaptable to the needs of those designers in that moment. So name it like we want to be the academy for the design world in the future. Yeah, that's how I see Habitat Harmonia.
Beautiful. You really are a visionary implementer for changing how design is impacting the world. And I thank you for your insight today and for sharing your time. And as we kind of come to a wrap up, if you want to share with me, when is the next? How can people join Habit Harmonia? When is the next cohort? What does it look like? How can they follow up with you?
Okay, very simple. You can look at habitatharmoniaacademy.com, and there you can see what are the courses we're offering, what is the platform about. So what we're right now promoting is the next cohort. We are starting a cohort in September, 17th of September, a cohort of our 12-week course, which is called Wellbeing with Biophilic Design course. It's a course which we are doing it for many cohorts already, many people who have been following this course, and it's a great success because it's not just learning the tools, it's divided in 3 parts. The first one is actually, yes, all those videos and all those instruments, those tools that you need to know. The second one is we have a weekly cohort, so we get all together and we talk about what the things, how things have been going, what are the assignments that we have to do. And the third one, which is a very important one, is you create a project together with us, and we guide you on that. And this is why my background, I've done entrepreneurial studies and marketing and also interior architecture. I bring all that together and I help those designers to just create their own ideas and their own studios and change their the studios into more sustainable or biophilic design studios. So that's one of the things we're doing right now. We are talking about the courses, which will start in September, and anyone can join already now today to the ecosystem.
Okay.
So you just go into the Academy, you search for the ecosystem, and you can join our membership. It's straight away. You can follow there. Plenty of webinars we have done the last months, and they're all uploaded on the ecosystem. You can see the live sessions. You can see a whole library of academic papers and blogs and videos and etc. etc. So it's an amazing tool for designers to go and think more holistically.
Amazing. Okay, one last question as we wrap up then. One piece of advice that you would either give to your younger self or to someone coming out and starting their journey as an adult. I'm really focused on empowering young adults to kind of think through this broader lens, because I felt like I was like always trying to fit in these boxes, and I know the world is different now. So I would love for you to share something that someone can an impactful step that people can ponder as they continue beyond this episode.
Well, my advice is to follow your intuition and follow your inner call. And it's easy to say, it's much more complicated to get there, but we know it. We know it ourselves, how we are doing it better. And it took me a while to get there and to understand that, okay, we have our inner intuition and we can create amazing things because we got it. We got it. So one of the tips is that listen to your inner self. Be in balance. So as a visionary, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, you have to understand that if we're not in balance, if we don't have the flow, we will not have that creativity and spread that flow of energy to the rest of the world. So bear in mind that this is needed. Do less and don't do so much as we've been taught to do, because by slowing down, you will create better things. And be open for everything. Just don't do a linear study. Do several studies, different disciplines, and this will, a great success. It's always good to travel to learn other things. So constantly learning and exploring your world. Those are my advices. Maybe a lot of them, but okay, that's something that I would say to my own self 30 years ago.
Beautiful. I'm gonna receive that advice and apply it too. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and for your gifts in shaping the future as a leader in this industry that impacts so many other industries. And I can't wait myself to join the cohort in September and to continue learning from you. And I'm just so glad we finally got together and made this time happen so that we can be another platform to ripple what you're doing out there in the world to as many people as possible.
Thank you, Wendy. This was an amazing conversation. I'm really, really happy that you asked me all those questions because I'm really, really honored that I could be here with you, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you in the cohort in September. I think you're going to have a great time in that cohort, and looking forward for much more and for more collaborations, and just happy to be in this space. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
Ciao.